The Depth to Delve Deep by Rote Writer. Chapter 62 Glastonbury Music Festival. Meanwhile, Glastonbury is abuzz with the music festival, though the 3 day event isn't actually in Avalon. It's in Pilton, a farming community maybe 10 miles away. But because Glastonbury is the closest community of any size, it's swamped. It seethes with every freak the US, the UK, and the world beyond can cough up. It seems to attract every kind of craze. There are plenty of people pulsating with illusions and delusions of grandeur in the guise of magical, mystical, religious, or just plain insane claims to fame. Overwhelming numbers populate the small town for 2 weeks up to the festival during the 3 day festival and 2 weeks after. Then they fritter away. A few remain, adding to the already large collection of conscripted crazies. Barkeep wrote, for the duration of the long-drawn debacle deals with more than a few of the freaks frequenting the bar. And judging by what he hears from his friends next door at the hostel pub, they too deal with the deranged. Their environment is far livelier and liberal, surely making their quota of crazies dwarf Rote's, thankfully. There's some quotable notables Rote meets during the teeming time. One fellow in particular is a self-called Cornish gypsy Jew, perhaps the roughest and toughest of any customer to ever walk into the inn. The fellow tells Rote a story about how when he was a boy his father used to rope his neck with raw meat before throwing him to the dogs. Just one look at this fierce fellow is enough to believe that's not the worst of it. Rote likes him. There are a few other colorful characters that come and go. One woman, when asking for a pint of British ale, makes Rote quip, you speak the Queen's English. Rote's heard many accents come and go, but her eloquent English and accent endears his ear like a bird's song heard through a throng of raucous raw ravens. After the festival, Rote really starts to feel restless. He begins to look through a Lonely Planet guidebook kept behind the bar. A French co-worker who recently begins working at the inn gives it to him. She's hired after Rote's favorite fellow staff member, the tantalizing tart, quits. He knows it's only a amount of time before the tart's boyfriend pushes the limit, seemingly barring him from the inn and the pub. It all stems from an earlier incident before Rote even starts working, and Rote's pretty sure there's an even earlier scenario. It starts before she even knows her boyfriend. It starts when she's first hired by the odd deputy manager and manager. Rote's pretty sure there is some history there. Things happen when people drink too much. She's quite young when she starts working there. She still is. The deputy manager always acts defensive around her. After all, he's the one who barred her boyfriend. One night while Rote's pretending bar, the odd deputy manager manages to make matters worse. Rote mistakenly pours and passes the wrong pint to a friend of the tart, who he finds so smart and sick. Her friend lets Rote know the point is he pours is incorrect. He passes it to a patron at the bar who welcomes it warmly. He just happens to be sitting beside the deputy manager who's drunk as a skunk. Now the deputy manager who knows this fellow Rote pours the wrong pint for is friends with the smart tart. In a drunken stupor he says, you must pay for it. The deputy manager doesn't know it's Rote's mistake, but before Rote can explain the situation, the smart tart's friend picks up the pint in question and pours it over the head of the deputy manager. He promptly and politely apologizes to the patron as he pays for the pint. Then he leaves the inn. Afterwards, the deputy manager just sits there soaked. As can be imagined, he's barred from returning the next day. But the row between Rote's roommate and her boyfriend with the deputy manager makes it impossible for her to continue. Much to Rote's sadness, she makes these great plans to go to Greece, and then follows through with them. Her replacement is this woman from France who's been living in Glastonbury with her boyfriend for some time. She meets her boyfriend in France. Her boyfriend doesn't like Rote too much when he finds his girlfriend working in the inn during the busiest week of the year. While Rote, supposedly sick, is seen sitting in one of the only frequented local bars with his buddy, the baddest man in town, who, like on this occasion, saves him from getting into an unwanted melee with a bereaved boyfriend. His new co-worker from France is the only one other foreigner working there at the inn alongside Rote. When she hands Rote the Lonely Planet guidebook on France, he senses she will soon be the only foreigner